I said this is Wildfire Contracting 101. I was going to pause for a second to let Amanda start recording, and I think she has done that, so we'll move forward. So I will be the host for today's webinar. My name is Taylor Bowes, and I am the director of the Northern California APEX Accelerator program. In just a minute, I'm going to go over the APEX Accelerator program and tell you a little bit about it. Our presenter from Norcal APEX Accelerator today is Thomas Burns. He's one of our procurement specialists. And then we are lucky to have both Craig Erickson and Elizabeth Lesniak as presenters from U.S. Forest Service and Cal Fire. Okay, so before we jump into the main content of today's presentation, we're going to go over the Norcal APEX Accelerator program. This is a nationwide program. There's APEX accelerators in almost every state in the US, and then in larger states like California, the state is divided into regions. And so we're the Northern California region, and you can see our service area in the teal on the screen here. We have a really large service area, as you can see. We serve all of the Bay Area and then sort of everything north to the Oregon border and sort of towards the coast. We're physically located right here where the red star is in Arcata. So our offices are just off of the plaza in Arcata in a building called Startup Humboldt. And we're co-located with the NorCal Small Business Development Center as well. So the whole goal of the APEX Accelerator program and what its mission is to help businesses be able to compete in the government marketplace successfully, basically. So we know that contracting with local, state, and federal agencies can be difficult. There's lots of hoops to jump through. There's very specific processes, lots of different registration and portals and stuff like that. And so we help businesses navigate that system, basically. We offer one-on-one counseling. So if you're a business interested in our services, you would sign up on our website, which is listed here. It's just apexnorcal.org. It's a really easy online form you fill out. And then we use the information you provide to match you with one of our procurement specialists. We also offer custom bid matching and several other resources and trainings related to government contracting. Our procurement specialists are experts in the field. They're located all over our service area. Many of them, are retired from, a 30-year career working for the government themselves and go through extensive training to keep up on the latest rules and regulations and things like that. And in funding year 24-25, we helped our clients win more than $3 billion in government contracts. So we do assist with everything having to do with government contracting, from helping you do market research to try to determine if that's even an avenue you want to go down, helping you figure out what agencies buy what you sell or what your competitors look like, all the way through to helping you find bid opportunities, bid submittals, contract compliance, all of the socioeconomic certifications, etc. Okay, and like I said, our presenter for today from Norcal APEX Accelerator is Thomas Burns. He's one of our procurement specialists. We always include a training disclosure here, just because we do record these webinars, and as you probably all know, rules and regulations and laws in government contracting can change quite a bit. So we're just saying this is accurate to the best of our knowledge at this moment. And Thomas, I will kick it off to you.
Thank you, Taylor. Good morning, everyone. Looks like I was looking at all of the participants saying hello in the chat. We have people from all over the West Coast, it looks like. So, good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Thomas Burns. I'm one of the procurement specialists here with Norcal APEX Accelerator. I've been here 6 years, and I actually come from the entrepreneurial side. So, I did a lot of work going after government contracting myself and doing business with large primes in my past career. But here's our agenda today. We're going to focus first on the U.S. Forestry Service, and then we're going to focus on CAL FIRE. As we mentioned, we have representatives that will give you much more details, but I'm going to provide an overview of both services along with the prerequisite to how to get involved with both the Forestry Service and CAL FIRE, that is sam.gov. So we can go to the next slide, please. And so, yeah, the wildland firefighting vendors. So every year, as you know, especially on the West Coast here, there are forest fires that happened throughout the year, but primarily there's a wildfire season that takes place, and the government simply need support. They need assistance. They need help with additional equipment and manpower to handle these fires that happen in such remote places throughout the West Coast. And so this gives many small businesses that are based in rural communities an opportunity to do business with the federal government and the state of California. We're going to be focusing on directly doing business with the government, i.e., prime contractors. Their subcontracting is a role, but for purposes of this webinar, we're going to be working or providing information for business owners who want to do business directly with the government. Next slide, please. So preseason, right? The procurement process and how to start the process. So again, as you see here, more fire support than the federal government and the state can do on their own. So it's really important that they have a verifiable list of business owners, i.e. vendors, that they can call upon when there is a need, and those vendors can provide the service immediately. So that you have to be ready and able and qualified to respond at a moment's notice. That's the most important part of this process. And the process for being qualified is where we're going to get into the nuts and bolts as we move forward. Next slide, please. So let's do a quick overview. So the Department of Agriculture's Forest Service, they're the ones responsible for wildfire responses. And there's two main programs that they utilize. One is the virtual incident procurement, i.e. Viper. The other one is AIMS, which we'll get into a little bit later. But Viper is an agreement. It's an incident blanket purchase agreement. So blanket purchase essentially means they don't know at this point when they award the contract how much work will be available. They don't know the actual volume and how long. So it's an open agreement to provide services for a period of time. We'll talk about how long as we move through, but the process is simply a demand arises for either equipment or services. You receive a call, and again, immediately you've already kind of worked out the agreement. So you just start moving forward with providing wildfire support. Next slide. For CAL FIRE, it's essentially the same with some differences. One of the biggest differences is, for example, with Viper, they are open to you providing a quote for your services. Whereas with CAL FIRE, they've kind of already created a pay scale for different products and services or equipment and services that you agree to. The information is within that unit hired equipment coordinator and the emergency equipment rental agreement, which again, we'll go into much more detail. Next slide, please. So again, on the Cal Fire Hire equipment, similar to Viper, you're looking at a system where it's an open agreement, so they can't guarantee exactly how much work. They just know that when the time comes, they need these vendors to be ready and able to move forward quickly. As I said, sometimes the turnaround can be very fast, such as less than 12 hours. And again, they'll talk much more about that as we move forward. Next slide, please. So let's go into the U.S. Forestry Service. Again, I'll be providing an overview. The first step is we're talking about Region 5. So Region 5 is all of California broken up into three clear territories: northern, central, and southern. As you can see by the map, kind of shows how that is played out. Next slide, please. So let's talk about what does the U.S. Forestry Service purchase for wildfire. So of course, the wildfire fire support services, but it goes much more beyond that, right? So I know as a just an example from some of the clients that I work with here at Norcal APEX Accelerator, a lot of my clients, they have porta potties. They have one piece of equipment, might be a bulldozer, might be a grader, might be just one truck. And they utilize that service in many different ways, in many different territories throughout their service area. And so you're looking at construction, maintenance, leasing of rental facilities, transportation to get the crews into remote places. So all of these are, different services that the U.S. Forestry Services buys. Next slide. And again, fire support is, of course, the main. So the website, as you can see, and all of these slides will be shared with everybody after the webinar. So that's the link to the Forest Services procurement page. The information that you're going to have on that page is dealing with the contacts, the dispatch centers, the different checklists and guides. And they've created a new website called Viper Next Gen, which is going to be much more streamlined and easier to navigate to sign up. Next slide, please. So let's look at the onboarding process. As we mentioned before, the blanket purchase is for a period of time. It used to be 3, now it's a 5-year solicitation cycle. So as an example, if you got on in 2023, that's going to be good for the next 5 years. But they've also made it possible for vendors to actually get onto a solicitation contract, a 5-year contract at any point. So 2026, 2027, there will be opportunities to get onto a 5-year contract, whereas before you would have to wait until that 5-year period ended. And so on the right, you can see the different types of services and equipment, and when you can look at the different solicitations, the 5-year, 3 to 5-year, and it tells you when they're looking for new vendors to fill certain areas, such as the faller, the fuel tender, mechanic with service truck, So these are certain things that they'll be needing in 2026, and you can see what's going to happen in 2027 and 2028. And I'm pretty sure as things happen, this might change also every year. Next slide, please. So let's talk about what is required to start the process to be with Viper and Cal Fire, actually. The first and most important is making sure your SAM registration is current and up to date. When I mean up to date, I want to make sure I'm talking about your next codes. So when you register in SAM, one of the most important things you want to make sure you're getting correct is what are your next codes, the products and services that you want to sell to the government. Because once you do your Viper, those codes need to match what's in your SAM registration. Actually, one of the services that we as counselors see um, doing a great deal of is helping our clients with their SAM registration. So I would strongly encourage you to make sure to reach out. If you don't already have a counselor or you're not registered with an Apex Accelerator, this is one of the main reasons to do so, so we can guide you through this process of getting your SAM in a very quick, easy process. I've talked to clients who have tried to do sam.gov on their own, and it might take them days and weeks, and we can greatly eliminate that process because we can just walk you through it. The next slide, please. So this is talking about last year or in previous years, there was another component before you got to the Viper application. It was the USDA authentication. That is no longer part of the Viper system, and that's why the system has been down so they can upload it or update it with this new next-gen system. Next slide, please. And I am going to be happy to provide Craig Erickson so he can give you all the new details on this new system, which should be available um, extremely soon. I'll have Craig talk about exactly when it's going to be up, but I'll be available to answer questions regarding um, our services and Sam or anything else to help you throughout the day. Okay.
All right, thanks, Thomas, and welcome, Craig Erickson. Thank you so much for joining us today. Craig will be going into more detail for us about doing business with U.S. Forest Service. And Craig, I will hand it to you.
Thank you very much, Taylor. And first, I'd just like to say a thank you to APEX for organizing this. I know I get a lot of feedback from contractors that really enjoy this, and they like that it happens every year. So thank you very much. And with that, my name is Craig Erickson. I am a team lead contracting officer for the USDA Forest Service. And the team I lead is basically all of the contracting officers that work for the Viper program in Region 5, California. And so I work for the Forest Service, I work for the Forest Service in incident procurement, equipment and services branch, which is commonly known as the Viper program. And it's called Viper because Viper is the computer system we use that all the quotes are submitted into and everything kind of works through it. And that's why it's kind of called Viper and Viper agreements. And yes, the description of our IBPAs, the blanket purchase agreements, it was very good from Thomas. And yeah, there's not much more to say about it. Blanket purchase agreements are a way for us to set up an agreement between the contractors and the government with specifications that when we have a need, we can go to contractors. And so it's an agreement that you guys have the equipment and training that we're looking for, and we're willing to pay the price that that you want to basically deliver it to us for. And so let's go ahead to the next slide. Oops, and there's a little, we'll go to the next slide. So for the beginning part of this, I want just to put this out there. I know you guys are going to get a copy of these slides. So these first few slides are just who the contracting officers are for all the different type of resources that we do in the Viper program, and then how to get a hold of them. So this is a bunch of it. This shows Rashana Workman, who is the supervisory contracting officer. So she's my boss. She's the head of the West Zone for the Viper program. And so we've got Brianna and Rashana, Francois, Sally, and myself are there. And these are the agreements that we do. I do fuel tenders, heavy equipment task force, which is only in Region 6, so only in Oregon and Washington. We don't have that in Region 5 yet. And then I also do the water handling. So then to the next slide. And here we have the points of contact for some of our heavy equipment and fallers and chainsaw repair trailers and the chippers. So you can reach out to these individuals if you have any questions and on these categories. Next slide. I think I have one more with names of people. Yeah, so these are they call it the national zone, and it's kind of national programs in the Viper. So these categories are a lot of the medical, or all of the medical stuff is here, including ambulances and the emergency medical technicians, and a lot of the trailers that we use at incident camps are considered national zone. So these are their contacts to get a hold of those people, along with the cruise bus carriers and things like that. Next slide. Okay, so this year, every year we do have some new solicitations, and so basically, if you are a contractor that have, like, we'll take fuel tenders. If you have a current fuel tender agreement, it's going to end at the end of this year. So we're going to be soliciting new quotes for all those resources. And so contractors that have current agreements will have to submit new quotes. And that entails going into the Viper system and then uploading pictures and things like that for the technical evaluations. Everything for new solicitations will need to be evaluated new. So this year we're doing fuel tenders, and there's a change with the fuel tender solicitation. We are, okay. So we're adding a type 4, which is a smaller fuel tender, and it's more of a smaller truck that we hope would be used to kind of fuel things in camp or at a spike camp, which is like a small remote camp, to be able to get around with a truck instead of driving around with a giant, like a fuel tanker. And then we're also going to be doing the mechanic with service trucks again this year. And there's not really that much of a change on there. It's just little things like requiring a torque wrench. We all know that it's needed. All the mechanics bring them, but it didn't technically say it in their requirements. So that's being added. And then there's an update to what the scanners they use to they use on the equipment for telling the what are they, the maintenance codes and things like that. And then this year, off-highway vehicles, which is commonly known as UTVs, we're going to be soliciting that new this year also. And we'll also be doing rapid extraction modules, which are known as REMs. And these are medical teams that they have a lot of qualifications like rope extraction and things like that. And so we've been doing those as incident-only agreements for the past few years, but we're going to have that as a category now. And so they're REMS teams. And then we're also going to be doing the vehicle driver solicitation again. And this year we are adding a new stake size type 3, which is a smaller stake size. So we've had a type 1 and a type 2 historically, and now we're adding a type 3, which will be smaller. So those are all the changes and the new solicitation categories for this year. So next slide. Okay, so onboarding rollover mod categories. So these are all categories. These are basically the rest of the categories in the Viper program, and they are all accepting new quotes. So if you have a resource in any of these, like a chipper, we will be accepting new quotes this year in all categories, which is something that we can't say that we're going to do it every year. It's up to the region and the fire service that decides, what they need more of. But this year we're doing it for all categories, and that's new contractors and current contractors submitting new equipment. So that's exciting. Everything's up for. So if you are submitting a new resource, a quote for new resource, you will have to, even though it's a current agreement, you will have to submit all of the inspection pictures and documents that are requested. And when you do get a chance to get that solicitation, which we will be, I think we're planning to put those out in February, the solicitations and for the onboarding and the new ones also. So you should be able to find those in February. But when you are submitting it, the requirements to be submitted for technical evaluation are going to be found in section E. So the solicitations are all broken up by section, A through E, and section E is going to tell you, you have to have 4 pictures of the resource, the front, the back, the sides, that kind of a thing. And of course, if you have any questions on that, you can reach out to the contracting officers for those agreements. And we'll move to the next slide. So this year, right now, currently, the Viper system is down, and it's been down since, I think they took it down at the beginning of December. And so what we're doing is it's basically a whole new system, and it's supposed to be better. I've been they've trained me a little bit on my side of it, because my side's different than what the contractors use. And it seems to have all the same functionality. It'll just be a little different, a little cleaner. And there are some new things. So Legacy Viper, the old system, there was only one user per contractor. So when you had a Viper account, there was only one login, and generally that meant that one person had the login information that they used in e-authentication. And now that's not going to be the case anymore. With the new system, there'll be multiple users can be in an account. So when you get a Viper account, you can set up multiple people within your company to be able to access it and access your quotes and your resources. Let's see, manual entry of information. Yeah, so in the old system, you used to have to put in, all your information for your company. In the new system, it will pre-populate from sam.gov. So whatever your company name is in sam.gov will be what is in the Viper system. And then much of the rest of this is fairly similar. Quotes are all still submitted into the Viper system. We don't take them by email or anything like that. It has to be in the system. Communication is something that's new. So historically, all communication is through email or phone calls and that type of a thing. And now the new Viper system is going to have a built-in messaging system where you'll be able to message your contracting officer directly and get information, and then the Viper system will send you messages. It's supposed to be, I haven't seen it in action or seen that part of it, but it's new, and we're pretty excited about it, having that message system. Next slide. So benefits for the vendors, no more e-authentication, which was pretty difficult to work through that system previously. It's going to be, if you have a SAM account, then you should already have that type of login access when you start your Viper account. The Viper system is going to be integrated with SAM, so all that information from SAM will flow into the Viper system. You'll be able to have multiple user accounts and the in-platform messaging, and then personalized dashboards. I haven't seen that part of it, but the new system is very clean, and I think everyone's going to really like just the functionality of it. So next slide. Yes, so this is a new vendor registration if you are a new contractor this year. These are kind of the steps that we'll go through. So step one, you'll go into the Viper Next Gen system, and you'll get an account, register as a vendor, and then step two, you'll create your account and log in. Then you'll set up your profile, which will link directly to the sam.gov system, which you have to have before you start this process. And then you will upload your resource equipment information. So that's pretty much the same as before. You'll, under your profile or your account, you'll be building your resources so that you can submit them for quotes. And then step four, once you have your resources built in there and pictures uploaded, you'll be able just to submit to different solicitations. And you should be able to see everything right there in the system. You'll see, you won't have to go to the sam.gov system to look for solicitations. They're supposed to be right there so you can access them easily. And I go to the next slide. I think that's going to be it for my part of the presentation. Yep. So yeah, thank you very much. And I do work out at Fire. I'm often out at different incidents, so I might see you out there if you do end up going out. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Craig. So now we will move into part two of our presentation, where we're going to be focusing on Cal Fire. Okay, and thank you to Elizabeth Lesniak from Cal Fire for joining us today. She's going to go in more detail about doing business with Cal Fire, and I will hand it over to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Lesniak. I am the small business and disabled veteran business enterprise advocate for the Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, which is commonly known as Cal Fire. And I'm also a contracts analyst in the business services office. Been doing this since 2021, but I'm learning more and more every year. And full transparency, this is the first time I've ever made a presentation specifically on the hired equipment program. So I'm very fortunate that I have a couple other members of the hired equipment program here. They may pop on if they notice that I'm not saying something correct or need to add a little something. So we have Jacob Lafort from, he's a battalion chief and he oversees the northern units. And we also have Battalion Chief Andrew Rouse. And then we have a couple folks from the admin side as well. As a small business and disabled veteran business advocate, one of the things I do is I travel all over the state, meeting folks like you who want to do business with Cal Fire and the state of California. And last year, I was fortunate enough to attend, I think, 3 or 4 APEX Accelerator events. I recognize a lot of names of folks that I met in person. So I'm glad that you're here. My guess is last year when you talked about the hired equipment program, I was very much less knowledgeable than I am today. So this is a great place to be. Next slide, please. Today, we're going to talk about what it takes to get into an emergency equipment rental agreement with Cal Fire within the statewide hired equipment programs. The hired equipment program was established because when responding to emergency incidents, CAL FIRE may supplement its fire line and support equipment by hiring additional resources and ancillary services from people like you. There are 21 units within CAL FIRE, and each unit has its own hired equipment coordinator. We will go over a little later. I'll tell you how to find that coordinator. But as you can imagine, there are a lot of moving parts within CAL FIRE. So it is great that we have this program to help kind of streamline a lot of the rules and guidelines for the hired equipment program. Next slide, please. So for the program, there is a 3-year term that contracts last, and we are coming upon the end of the 3-year term. It will end this April. A new one will begin May 1st and go until April 30th of 2029. However, people can join during open enrollment periods anytime within that 3 years. It's just that if you get set up, you're set up for 3 years. I'm going to talk, there's a link in this slide that you're going to receive for the Hired Equipment Program Supplier Participation Manual. This manual is actually in the process of being revised and updated. Some things have been changed. So I don't know what those are. Folks that are here do, but the link that's in this slide will change once that new manual gets uploaded. You're always welcome to reach out to me for a new link, or I will show you how to find the web page. And Amanda and Taylor can always refer you to me if something gets lost in the meantime. The Supplier Participation Manual defines the rules and standards that are required of all the suppliers and equipment in order to be eligible for the program participation. It also includes payment rates, instructions to initiate an agreement. It has a checklist for everything that you need in order to get into an agreement, and it provides guidance for what to expect during incident dispatch and assignment. Oh, I forgot. So I was going to mention that if there's any questions, you can feel free to mention, put them in the question and answer, like Taylor said, and Andrew and Jacob and Sarah will answer them as they can, or at the end, there'll be a question and answer period as well. Any information that's shared in this presentation is subject to change. You always want to defer to the unit hired equipment coordinator in your area and the manual. No supplier is guaranteed any amount of business upon entering an EERA with CAL FIRE. Next slide, please. All hired equipment suppliers must provide legible copies of the following for each piece of equipment. Current driver's license, current vehicle registration, current vehicle insurance. That insurance has to have CAL FIRE shown as an additional insured. That wordage is included in the supplier participation manual. This is something that's required for all contractors that we do work with within the state of California and the Department of Forestry and Fire Protection. You need to have current workers' compensation insurance and or major medical coverage, a hired equipment safety diploma. One of the things that as the advocate I educate folks on is how to become certified as a service disabled veteran business enterprise or a small business or both with the Department of General Services, Office of Small Business and Disabled Veteran Services. This is a certification that you may be familiar with. It expires and you only get 1 month notice from the Department of General Services. So it's up to you as a supplier to make sure that that certification is renewed. And as I'll discuss on a couple more slides, there's a tier program that applies to that certification. You have to be able to provide one 24-hour contact phone number because, as mentioned earlier, you will get a call and you will need to come out as quickly as possible. And if you miss that call, you may not get a call again. You have to have proof of ownership for a title or bill of sale for every piece of equipment that you signed up, including your trailers. Water tender suppliers must be inspected and pumps tested every 3 years. And I kind of skipped over the annual safety inspection because I have a mental note in my head that something is different about this, but I don't know if Andrew or Jacob want to mention what is different or what's up with this inspection. My guess is you all are more familiar with it than I am. But that has to be current for the duration of your EERA. Next slide, please.
You can speak a little bit on the inspection process if you want.
Yes.
Sorry
Okay.
about that. So,
Thank you.
yeah, so in order to, before your agreement gets active, you will be inspected by your local hired equipment coordinator. And it's just a inspection form to make sure driver's license, PPE, the proper requirements and the specs that are outlined in the supplier manual, that you come equipped with that. You'll get inspected prior to your agreement being made active. And then you will also get inspected at the incident as well. And anytime we find something that doesn't pass the inspection, we will actually make that line item inactive until it is up to par with our standards and requirements.
Elizabeth, it looks like you're muted. There you go.
Well, that's weird. Well, Ghost must have done that. Okay. Couple of non-negotiable rules is that only one supplier may control any one piece of equipment. No equipment may appear under more than one agreement. And of course, CAL FIRE is under no obligation to include equipment on an EERA. As such, only equipment that is in satisfactory condition, like Jacob said, will be accepted. Slide. So with that certification that I was talking about, the statewide hired equipment program does honor a preferential selection for that certification. The first to get a call are hired equipment suppliers with current and valid DGS issued small business and service disabled veteran business enterprise certifications. You have to have both. I have everything that is required for the small business certification. So if you're interested in that, I'm happy to share that with you. This is the priority tier for preferential selection. Tier 2 is hired equipment suppliers with current and valid DGS issued either small business or DBBE certification. So one or the other, not both. And then tier 3 is hired equipment suppliers without either certification. Next slide, please.
Awesome. And I want to jump in just for
Yes.
a second to talk about these certifications a little bit.
Yes.
Just because, so we are talking about two different levels of government here. So U.S. Forest Service is the federal government. CAL FIRE is the state government. And so state and federal governments have different socioeconomic certifications. So the ones being listed here, the small business and DVBE, these ones are with the state of California. So that's just an important distinction. A lot of people get confused about it. It's kind of confusing, but these are the state certifications, and sounds like Elizabeth has some information on those if you're interested. And also Norcal APEX Accelerator can help walk you through these certifications as well.
Yes, that is a very good point. The federal side recognizes other certifications that even have the same type of acronym, DBE. That's not something that the state recognizes at this time.
Yeah.
So like I mentioned, the statewide hired equipment program supplier participation manual, there's a link here, but it is being updated and it will change. So feel free to reach out to me if this link gets broken and you're unable to open it later down the road. But there is, like I mentioned, a checklist um, with everything that you need and examples of all of the forms that you are required to have, making it a little bit easier, hopefully, to get it all collected. Next slide, please. So many different needs by the department during incidents, and this is the supplier manual will go into detail for what requirements are needed for each piece of equipment, and each of these are linkable at this point, but that will change once the new manual comes out. And then I just wanted to go over with you briefly. Let me see, Andrew and Jacob, do you have anything that you'd like to add? I'm gonna go with no. That's a good sign.
Trying to find the mute.
Okay.
Rouse, if you have anything, feel free. You're doing great, Elizabeth.
Sorry, what was that?
You're doing great. I don't have anything to add.
Okay, thank you. So the next slide will be the link to our hired equipment website that you all can access. And I was going to ask Taylor or Amanda to go to that web page, and we can just go over some points you'll want to be aware of.
Yes.
This
There we go. Amanda's going to share her screen so we can check out this website.
Perfect. Thank you. This top section right here, next to the picture of the, I don't even know what that is. It's always going to be updated for information that you, the customer, needs to know. So, if different times of the year, if there's something going on, that's where admin will update accordingly. For example, last year during the fires in January and February, they extended the period, and that was posted here so that everybody could see it. If you scroll down the page a little bit, you have the link to the supplier participation manual. So that is a way that you can find it down the road, and goes into great detail. Since it is your responsibility to make sure that all of your documents are up to date, you can email your updated insurance documentation to the email that's listed here. That will go to the admin side, who will then provide it to your hired equipment coordinator. If you don't update any of your certifications that are required, most commonly the insurance, you will be put on a do not call list. Actually, there was a term that was inactive. You will be made inactive. So you will not be available for calls if your insurance is not updated throughout the term of your contract. If you scroll down a little more, there is a link to obtain your unique entity identification number. And this is what you use whenever you have an inquiry. As the advocate, sometimes I get calls about situations that maybe the coordinators are busy and working and unable to answer as promptly as someone would like. So they call me, which is great. That's one of my jobs. And that I will always ask you for the UEI number, because that is the way that I can find you in the system. I can see if payments have been made, or I can, do some more research and try and figure out what's going on. However, I'm always, the first person you should call is your local hired equipment coordinator, or call or email. They all work active, with the incidents. So they may not be answering the phone when you call the first time. or the second time, but that's because they're busy. So we just have to understand that everybody has a lot of other responsibilities besides what we can see. So this will provide you, the first drop-down menu will provide you the information for how to get in touch with your local hired equipment contact. We have all of the areas there. You can get them by email. There's an then just below all of this is the information for the general hired equipment program. So if you are unable to make contact with a local hired equipment coordinator within a reasonable time, you're welcome to email the main desk, which is just a little bit further down, and someone will get back to you. And again, I am, as the advocate, always available. I do have a lot of voicemails to return as of right now, and it's not even fire season. So I'm just one person, but I will do my best to get back in touch with you as quickly as I can and help you with your inquiry, whatever it may be. And that concludes the presentation that I have. If Jacob has anything you'd like to add.
I do not. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Elizabeth. And I can attest to the fact that Elizabeth gets out there and goes in person to tons of events across California. I think I've seen her at almost all of the in-person events I've gone to over the past year. And she's always so warm and so open to talk with everybody. So she really is a great, helpful resource for you all. Okay. So to conclude, before we hop into questions, I see we do have a lot of great questions in the Q&A. I just want to close it out with mentioning a couple more things about our program. These are our procurement counselors that we currently have on our team. So I think it's always helpful to see a friendly face so you know what you're getting into before you sign up for something. And like I said, they're kind of spread out throughout our service area, and most of them offer virtual assistance. So that's that one-on-one confidential advising that we offer. And then here's some upcoming events we wanted to call your attention to. The first one is in partnership with Caltrans. The second two are hosted by us and are kind of more federally oriented. And then the last one is, I think, particularly relevant for this group that's on the training today. We're going to be doing an in-person how to do business with the state of California in Arcata on January 28th. Or that date is wrong. February. Amanda, can you check? I think it's February 27th.
That is correct. It'll be February 27th in Arcata, California.
Okay, great. So that'll be in person at our place of business, which is the Startup Humboldt building I told you about, just off the plaza in Arcata. We're going to have an introduction to government contracting presentation, and then the Department of General Services will be there, and they're going to do a 90-minute presentation in a little bit more detail on how to do business with the state of California as a whole. And they're going to walk people through Cal eProcure, how to get registered with the state, and also how to get those state certifications that we mentioned. There's also going to be a panel of local contractors that are going to talk about their experience doing business with the state, challenges, successes, tips, etc. And then also some networking. Cal Fire will be there. Elizabeth's going to be there with us. Thank you, Elizabeth. Cal Guard, Caltrans, California Office of Small Business Programs, and DGS, like I mentioned. So that'll be a great opportunity if you're interested. Okay, so now we will open it up for questions. Let me pull up my Q&A box here. Disappeared on me. Okay. Okay, so the first one is a three-parter here. Says, as a new business owner, I have some questions regarding what my business needs to be successful. The first one is, what are the insurance requirements for my business when doing business with U.S. Forest Service?
So I can go ahead and talk about that, Taylor. So in our contract, it's for government contract, it's pretty open. We specifically talk about insurance and the needs of it in section C.7 of all our agreements. And it says the contractor at the contractor's expense shall maintain adequate public liability and property damage insurance during this contract. And ensuring the contractor against all claims for injury and damage. So there's no like requirement like you have to have, a policy for $1 million or something. It's up to you and your insurance company to kind of figure out what you're going to need for the work that you're doing. And it would be different for all kinds of different equipment. The other part of insurance is contractors shall maintain workers' compensation insurance and things that are required for employees. So that's pretty much all that it talks about for insurance. And so if there is some kind of an accident or something like somebody runs into somebody else like with their trucks or something, insurance has to cover that because that's where that's going to come from, unless somebody wants to pay it outright. But so there's no, yeah. So that's what we have for insurance.
Okay, and then question 2 is, my business will be listed under AIMS. How do I negotiate terms for my rental within that system?
So yeah, I didn't actually talk about AIMS that much. So AIMS is our incident management system. And so there's the ones that do all the ERAs for federal incidents or for Forest Service incidents. And you can sign up on their list. It's an online link, and then you can go and you can list any of the equipment you have that isn't on a Viper agreement. And then when they need something and they're in your area, they can call and see if you're available. And the negotiating terms would be, it's basically when they call you, that's when you would negotiate terms. And that's relating to price and all that kind of stuff. You would tell them what your price is, and then they would negotiate with that.
Okay, great. And then the third is, I get a lot of daily spam phone calls on my phone. I think we all do these days. Is there a way to identify phone numbers from the U.S. Forest Service so I don't miss out on opportunities?
So yeah, that's going to be, so the dispatchers are the ones who would be using the phone to call you, and they'd be calling with orders, like to offer you an assignment. I know when I get called by them, it actually says something about government phone or something like that, but I'm not sure what it says to anyone else. I guess you could just find out what the phone number is and put it in your phone as a good number.
Yeah, and there, I have one little tip just to consider here. I don't know if you've heard of a tool called Google Voice, but there is a way to set up sort of like an alternate phone number for yourself with Google Voice so that you have like your own personal number and then you have a Google Voice number. And if you're doing a lot of government contracting where maybe you are expecting calls from the government that you don't want to miss, that's kind of a cool way to separate those so you can give out to the government your Google Voice number, and so you know that any call coming through to that is likely having to do with opportunities or the government. Okay, thank you, Craig. I'm gonna go out of order here and kind of go back and forth to do some Cal Fire questions in case we run out of time. Okay. What is the deadline to sign up heavy equipment for upcoming fire season 2026? This is both for U.S. Forest Service and Cal Fire.
Yeah, so for the Forest Service, we will be publicizing those solicitations once the Viper system is up and we get everything. So those generally open up for a 30-day period to submit quotes. And it basically, it starts once we publish it, and that will, you can be notified through the Viper system for that. And also checking on sam.gov and things like that. And then it will run for 30 days. Generally, that's how that works. So I don't really have a date yet since it's all kind of contingent on the Viper system.
Hey, and Elizabeth, do you have info, or Jacob?
Yeah, so first of all, can you guys hear me okay? I got feedback that I'm a little muffled and scratchy.
You are a little muffled, but
Ralph, do you want to answer this just so it's clear?
Now, can you repeat the question? I was typing an answer in the chat.
yeah, what is the deadline to sign up heavy equipment for the upcoming fire season 2026?
I understand. So with CAL FIRE, our sign-up period goes from November till the end of March. And there is a little bit of ability to go outside of that, activity dependent, for the local unit coordinators. But yes, you can go on our hired equipment webpage and find the unit that you want to do business with and contact that local unit hired equipment coordinator. The sign up period is right now, again, through the end of March.
Great, thank you. Thomas, I think this is probably a good one for you to answer. Is it just having a UEI, or is there some more needing to be done in SAM?
Okay. So there's actually a two-step process when you register in SAM. The first one is just getting your UEI, your unique identity number. And all that is when the GSA, who is running SAM right now, they verify your basic information, right? They're verifying your information, such as your EIN number matches the company, and they want to match your address. Once that's happening, then you want to get a cage code, which is the second part of your SAM registration. That's managed by DoD, and they're the ones that issue the cage code. So for the state of California, as long as you have a UEI number, you can qualify and submit that information to CAL FIRE to start the process of getting your contract with CAL FIRE. But with the Forest Service, you have to have the UEI and the cage code.
Thank you. Okay, this was talked about a little bit, but this one's for Craig. Does the U.S. Forest Service offer preference to veteran-owned business and/or small business?
Yes. So small business, we do offer preference to veteran-owned businesses and small businesses. So the Viper system, the Viper program, is all set aside for small business. So there are, except for a couple categories, it's all small business, no large business. And so all the contractors are small business, and we do offer it can be up to 10%, but if you're a veteran-owned small business, a service-disabled veteran-owned small business, then most times we will offer that like a 5% priority on the dispatch priority list, which is the list of contractors that we go down and call first for any orders.
Okay. Okay, what if what a vendor offers does not appear on the list, but does apply to USFS uh, to their needs with regard to the DART requirements?
Yeah, so if something isn't on in our Viper program categories, you can go to the AIM system and be able to list it there. And then if we have a need for it, like DART, I believe that has to do with technology and stuff. And a lot of that might be like Starlinks and things like that. And those can all be listed in that AIM system to where they would then call you when they need something like that.
Okay, thank you. And I went ahead and stopped sharing my screen just so you can see our faces as we're answering these questions a little better. This one says, will you buy biofuels and aviation fuel not mentioned in the category? Water generation machines, Gladys. Not sure who that's targeted towards, but if anyone has anything to say there.
Well, aviation fuel. So I know with the Forest Service, aviation fuel and things like that are not really something that we do through our categories. That like when we hire for aviation, we do contracts for helicopters, and they generally get their fuel from the airport or something like that. I don't know that I don't think we do aviation fuel and not biofuel specifically.
Okay. Do we have an actual date for Viper to be available? I think the answer there is no, not exactly. It was actually supposed to be available right before this webinar, and so it was going to be timed for you that way, but I think there was a little bit of a delay, and so my understanding is that any day now it's going to go live. Craig, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, that's so we were told that it was already supposed to happen on Monday, I believe, and they had to work some stuff out, so it is coming imminently. And I'm looking right now just to make sure they haven't started it, but let's see, it doesn't look like it's up yet. So it should be any time now. The system will be up for use.
Great. Can other states bid for SoCal engines?
Yeah, so engines falls in the water handling, and I'm the contracting officer for that. So other states can bid. So the engine itself has to be dispatched and located within 100 or 450 miles of the dispatch location. So if you're going to dispatch out of like San Bernardino, that engine has to be physically located somewhere within 450 miles of that dispatch. And that's the general rule for all the Viper categories.
Okay. Okay, Craig, can a newly established REMS company still apply for this solicitation while it is actively building out the business? For example, onboarding employees, finalizing equipment, purchases, etc. What type of equipment will be tracked through the Viper NextGen system for a REMS company? And if the deadline for the solicitation isn't met, can a REMS company apply through AIMS later in the year?
Yeah, so great question. The REMS is a new category this year. And on the list of contacts that I had in the part that I was presenting, that would be found in the national zone. And that's the contracting officer for that is Christy Haney. And so if you contact her, she would have more information on that. If you are coming up to the end of the solicitation period, and that one's a new one, so it'll have a 45-day solicitation period. If you come to the end of it, I say submit a quote, just get something in there, and then so that you have something that you can then work with. So I'm not really sure what they're going to be requiring. I know with the EMTs, they required you to have an actual person like a resume of somebody who was going to be an EMT. So I'm not sure what they're going to need, but Christy might know.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay, how do USFS and CAL FIRE currently categorize UAS support for emergency response and post-incident work? For example, is it treated as an equipment resource, an aviation resource, or a services intelligence capability, GIS support? And does that categorization change between response and recovery?
So I believe that's the drones and things like that. And I don't know that we do any contracts for those. I haven't seen any contracts for those. I think that's all federal within the federal people that we use. I'm not sure. Yeah, I haven't seen that as a contracted item.
Same with Cal Fire. That doesn't live in our hired equipment program. That would be in our Intel and Aviation department. If you want to shoot me an email, I'll drop my email in response to your question, and I can get you in contact with some of those folks from our Intel department and kind of how that works. I do know our department has our own fleet of UAS and GIS folks internally that fly these and operate these drones, I should say, and provide the incident specific mapping. But I can reach out to those folks or at least get you in contact with them, Jason, if you're okay with that.
Great, thank you. And I do want to mention too, we did leave lots of time for questions, and there are a lot of really great questions. So we will just keep going with questions until 11:30. Feel free to drop off whenever you want to if you're an attendee. Hang on as long as you're finding these beneficial for you. But we're going to keep going with questions until we run out of questions or it's 11:30. So, okay. Where can I find the phone numbers to all of the dispatch centers for the U.S. Forest Service so I can save them in my phone?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I often wonder that too. But I don't think they actually publish those numbers. So I know that they're all listed on the Viper website. They list the different dispatch locations, but I don't think they published the phone numbers on there.
Okay. Sorry, I think I forgot to categorize one of these. Okay, if we have EERA from the 2025 year, do I fill out new forms on all pieces of equipment and get inspected again?
So yes, since this year is a contract year, we have moved from our 2022 to 25 agreement period. We're now on the
23 to 26, and
sorry, we're in the 23 to 26 agreement period. So yes, everything that you have currently signed up will need to get re-inspected and new forms completed. That just helps us make sure all payment information is up to date. Your 204s are correct. You've had no address changes, and it's also our department's way of ensuring that your equipment still is compliant with us. So I don't know, Andrew, if you got anything to add, go ahead.
no, you summed it up. We recheck everything every 3 years. So the same stuff you did to get signed up for your current EERA is the same stuff you'll need to do again for the next 3-year agreement period.
All right, great, thank you. Okay, I think this one's for APEX Accelerator. They're asking, do these services that you provide come with a cost? No, our services are completely free. Everything we do is free. We're a nonprofit program and receive funding from federal and state government, so it's taxpayer funded, and a great resource to take advantage of. The second part to that is I am already active with CAL FIRE, but have had many hiccups in 24-25 with my Viper approval. I really need to avoid this issue again. If the new Viper system is not available in time for the solicitations, are we just out of luck?
So for yeah, as soon as the Viper system is up, we will be doing the solicitations, and so we definitely it will be up before we do the solicitations for Viper. So you won't run out of time for that.
Would just mention if that question came from somebody who is not a client of an Apex Accelerator, they should become a client so that, when the Viper is up, we will immediately contact them and help them through the process or make sure their paperwork is correct. So.
Perfect. Can you add the link for the AIM system?
So I can definitely do that. How would it be best to do that? Right there in the question, or?
Go ahead and enter it into the chat, I think would be great.
Okay. And I have to warn you guys, it's a terrible link. It's like it's very gibberish. So, but I'll put it in there. Thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you. On that note, could Craig elaborate on AIMS and onboarding?
Sure. So, yeah, the AIM system is for equipment and resources that are not on Viper agreements currently. So if you have something and you buy a water truck after the solicitation closed or after the period closed, you can put it on AIMS for the year to try to get some work that way. AIMS, that's done by incident. So when there's an incident in an area, there will be a team of purchasing people there that can look down the list and say, the incident will say, we need another water truck, and Viper's out of water trucks. So we'll look down the list, find one, and then find a close one and call them and negotiate the pricing on that. That's how that AIM system works. And it's a quick form to fill out, and you put your information, company, and then the information for your resource that you want to sign up. And then onboarding. Yeah, so it's onboarding during the solicitation. So our awards are 5-year periods, and throughout that, every year, we allow contractors to adjust their pricing once a year. And during that time, the Forest Service can elect to do onboarding, which is where we will allow contractors and new contractors to submit quotes for resources that are not on agreements yet. So I think that answers that. Do you think there's anything else I should say about that?
I think that's good for now.
Okay.
Okay, hi, we are a screen print and embroidery company. We would like to supply safety apparel and hats, jackets, etc. What is the process to become a supplier?
Who's that for?
CAL FIRE, do you want to take a stab at this one?
Ari, where is that question? Or could you repeat it again?
Yeah, hi, we are a screen print and embroidery company. We would like to supply safety apparel and hats, jackets, etc. What is the process to become a supplier?
Oh, okay. Well, we don't have any preferential vendor lists, but if you can send me your capability statement, I can provide it to the programs that can best use your what you offer. So that's probably the best way to get started.
Great. And if anybody does not know what a capability statement is, it's kind of like a resume or like a lengthy business card almost for your business. And it's what the government uses for doing, well, if you're wanting to do business with the government, it's what you use for marketing in, when you make a connection with a government agency, you'll want to give them your capability statement. And that's something Norcal APEX helps businesses create. We have a page on our website all about capability statements. There's a downloadable template and everything. And if you sign up for our services, we can help you with that. Craig, do you have anything to add to that question?
No, we don't really do that type of stuff. Forest Service and federal agencies have their own uniform contractors.
Okay.
I don't know that process at all.
Okay. Will any links discussed be included in the email with the recording of this presentation? All the links in the presentation itself will be provided because the slides will be sent out to everybody. Amanda, do we include the chat or links from the chat in what we send out?
We do not.
Okay. So if there is something in the chat that you're finding useful, please do copy and paste it or save it however you'd like so you have that information after the call. Okay, when I search for my local Apex, nothing comes up. Located in Calaveras County. I applied for NorCal because I'm not a county listed. Yeah, so like I said, there are apexes all over the country. In California, there are several. We do work together to coordinate and make sure that if you're located outside of one of our service areas, that you'll get connected to whichever apex is in your service area. So if you apply to us, we'll likely look at where you're located, and that'll be a flag to us to connect you with the appropriate APEX Accelerator. There should also be a website. Usually if you Google like find my APEX Accelerator, there is a website where you can select which state you're in, and then it'll populate with all the apexes in that state and what their service area is with contact information. I just went to sign up for APEX, and under the details section, military reserve status, there's only an active duty spouse National Guard. To be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure which part of our application that is. So let's connect. If you could connect with us one-on-one, and we'll help figure out what's going on with that. Would they use AIMS if and only if the Viper contractors are unavailable? Or could AIMS be used if there are also Viper contractors still available?
Yeah, so that's a good question. The primary place that we go to would be to the Viper contracts and down those dispatch priority lists. And then after that, they would go to the AIMS list. So the Viper contractors are priority, and we would call them first. And basically every time we have a requirement, we call the Viper contractors first. And then I'll take that one too. Can you apply REMS to both Viper and AIMS? So once you get it on Viper, then there's no need for it to be on AIMS because it is still kind of geographically located. When you sign up on AIMS, you'll be looked at for that area. It's not like they're going to call you from somewhere else because you're on AIMS. So the Viper is definitely the best place to be.
Okay. And one more came in. Do I need to own or lease all equipment, or can I subcontract with owner operators? That's a great question.
So that's a great question. And sorry, Andrew, if I cut you off there. For the Forest Service, Subcontracting is allowed. You can do that, and you do not. The company that has the contract does not need to own or lease the equipment. They can subcontract, but that equipment can't be on more than one contract. So if somebody has a piece of equipment, they sign it up under somebody else's contract, they can't just go and sign it up somewhere else. It has to be there, for Viper at least.
CAL FIRE.
Yeah, I believe I answered this one to him for CAL FIRE already in the chat, but with CAL FIRE, yes, you need to provide proof of ownership or a long-term lease agreement that covers the 3-year agreement period for us, so that we know you're in control of that equipment for the entire 3-year agreement period.
Great, thank you. Okay, and with that, we have answered 40 questions. Thank you all so much for attending, and thank you so much to our speakers today. We've done this webinar for the past, I want to say 5 years or so. We do it annually, and so we're just so grateful for the continued partnership with CAL FIRE and U.S. Forest Service and being able to get this information out to our NorCal businesses. So thank you all very much and have a great afternoon.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.